Hello, very warm welcome to all of you, wherever you might be tuning in from. It is 10:10 Central Time here in the United States. It is 11:10 East Coast, and it is 6:10 East African Time. Very happy to have you on the show today and continuing a conversation around driving a positive diaspora narrative. As we promised from last show last week, today we'll be having two sections. In the first segment, we'll be focusing on community leadership and partnerships. And then later at 11:20 here in the center in America, we'll be talking to Jean Gelgelu from the Little Africa or African Economic Development Solutions in St. Paul, Minnesota. We'll be talking about the essence of culture and economic development within the African communities. But of importance today is to recognize that although we have had many challenges over the past few months, still there are positive sides of it. And because of that, we've sought the support from different groups, from different communities that have been migrated to the United States from the African continent, so that we can have a conversation around why is it that we need really to work together rather than really be divided, so that we can drive together as a people a very positive story for us, our children and grandchildren. So Anna, today to have on the show, what you're seeing on the screen is what we'll be having shortly after the first show here. And I'll be happy to introduce those ones who will be talking to us today. So talking about community leadership today, Hannah to have on the show, carrying the flag for Kenya is Hulda Momanyi Hitzler. And then we'll also be talking to our good friend, who is also the executive director of the Liberian organization, my brother Kamati. We'll be talking about Kamati, what that means in a moment, and also talking for the people of Togo. Is a nice guy there, Sylvester. Yeah. So, gentlemen and lady, nice to have you on the show. So let's go first, ladies. Lady first. Hulda, how are you doing?
I am wonderful, Dr. Okari. How are you?
Pretty good. And my brother Kamati, Kenyans would be so excited to hear you about Kamati. How are you?
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Doc. And I feel at home in the Kenya community as usual.
As usual, that's good to hear. Be safe, yourself. And then lastly, my brother Sylvester, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Doctor. So happy to be here with you. And thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, first let me begin by thanking you for coming on the show to talk about what is happening within our communities. And of course, we recognize, as I said in the intro, we do have obviously challenges, just like any community. The African immigrant community in the United States as well has challenges. But I think, as we've agreed previously, we don't necessarily have to dwell on the negatives. We also need to look at the positives. There are a lot of goods within us. The difference that really we have not put those thoughts together, and here we have a chance to share those experiences, and hopefully going forward, we can work as a team. So maybe for the sake of our viewers, let me begin with you, Hulda, if you don't mind introducing yourself briefly.
Yes, so my name is Hulda Momanyi Hiltsley. I am the president of Mwanyegetinge organization here in Minnesota. And the whole aim of Mwanyegetinge organization is to really address the challenges that are facing the Kenyan community here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And actually, we do have members outside of the state of Minnesota. And to really collaborate with other organizations, immigrant organizations who are doing great things, to come together as a bloc, as an African bloc, to collaborate and to advance the advancements of our people here in the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
I guess you're referring to me, Doc. My name is Kamati Dien. I am the acting executive director for the Organization of Liberians in Minnesota. We are a community of over 40,000 strong Liberian, and we look forward to networking with our brothers and sisters in the African community to foster the goodwill and advancement of our people and our culture. I'm glad to be part of the forum today.
Thank you, and good to have you on the show as well. And lastly, Sylvester Gale from the Togolese community. Sylvester, introduce yourself to our viewers, please.
Thank you, sir. I'm from Togo, originally from Togo, and I'm an executive director of a Togolese community here in Minnesota. And as people said, we are here to come together with other community and fix, yeah, if I can say, the challenge we are facing here in Minnesota, in USA. Thank you.
Well, Sylvester, all of us as human beings, not here in the state of Minnesota, but across the country and all around the world, we've been experiencing a lot, around COVID-19 and the aftermath of George Floyd. So, could you share with our viewers what is happening within the Togolese community in regards to the COVID-19?
As everybody knows that COVID-19 is come to make everybody equal. So, like a black community, we are here in Minnesota. Nobody can say he's not affected by this virus. So, the only thing we are facing here is to uh, make sure if we don't get too much frustration when this come to us. Is the COVID-19 is visiting everybody. It's visiting any house. So uh, that's why we are here to talk about and how we can fix all those in coming days. Thank you.
Kamati, I know the Liberian community is a large community here, really, and I think some of them very, very hardworking people that I know in the world are Liberians. How are you guys dealing with the COVID-19 in your community, Kamati?
Very much. As we all know, the COVID-19 is very challenging. It brings to bear a community, a group of people, willpower. Like many other community, we have our share of challenges from the COVID-19. So we as a community, we address this heads on. Um, we try to help our people access those assistance and facility out there that will be able to lessen the burden and impact this virus has disproportionately caused our diaspora community. So for the organization of Liberian in Minnesota, we have most of our membership concentrated in Brooklyn Park and Brooklyn Center. We have network with the city of Brooklyn Park, the Hennepin County, and Hennepin Healthcare to carry on COVID testing so that majority of my committee members can benefit from that. So we did that on last Saturday. That was the 3rd of October. And we just did another one again this gone Saturday, the 10th. And I feel that we as a community and community leaders, we become the servants of the community. We have to go out there, get the necessary resources, connect our people with the necessary assistances that they can have that will be. So currently what we are also doing in the community, we are letting people know that there are help out there. So all of them as an organization will always, as usual, tell its community members, look, we have this help. For example, we have the rental assistance out there. It's one of those projects that we're working on. And we also have like the voter education. In spite of the pandemic, we want to make sure that our people are out there to access the necessary facilities and logistics to help them contain this epidemic. But at the same time, we can also make sure that they can access assistance provided by the city, the county, and what have you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kamat, for that. And I know I have a lot of friends from the Liberian community, so good to hear that, and obviously wish them well. And then let's go to the Kenyan community carrying the flag for Kenya, as I said earlier, is Hulda. Hulda, how are you guys dealing with within the Kenyan community?
So thank you so much for that question. As all of the leaders have stated, the pandemic has really played a number on us, especially us immigrants who, we're all about that community aspect. We're all about getting together, whether it is for, the good times or the bad times. And the COVID-19 has really, devastated the Kenyan community in the sense that, when we have a death, for example, we get together for a week or two, really mourning and having this fellowship and reminiscing about the good, memories and the legacies of this person. But unfortunately, because of COVID-19, we're not able to do that. And I have seen how some of the family members, some of the community members have dealt with that, where they're not able to really put in that time to mourn the death of a loved one. So that is just one challenge that that our community is facing. The second one is really, having or knowing that there are resources out there. Like my brother there, Kamati, said, the community, the Liberian community is a few steps ahead community, I'm sorry to say, in the sense that they have understood that there are resources out there and they have put a strategy down to, get access to those resources. So for the Kenyan community, what we have done so far is, working through the smaller community organizations within the Kenyan community, like, for example, AMWA, again, reaching out to the people who are affected by COVID-19. And then also as a community, we have raised funds and we have, requested the community to come to us and say, if you have an issue or if you have a challenge that is COVID based, please, reach out to us. And that has happened. And one of the things that we've done besides the funds is putting a list together, a resource list together for our members. If somebody again is like, dealing with, for example, housing, we direct them to, here's a resource that, you can use to assist with housing situation. But at the end of the day, this COVID really, caught us off guard in terms of, preparation and having conversations like this with leaders from other immigrant community really sheds light on, the fact that, we don't have this collaborative, this unity that we should have, in the sense that, for example, my brother there, Kamati, has a huge, project that they are doing every other Saturday, I believe, in regards to food and this COVID testing. We should all be a part of that, right? As an African immigrant community bloc, we should be all about, coming together. And so I want to thank Okari having this platform for all of us immigrant leaders to come together and talk about, okay, this is an issue that we all are facing. COVID-19 is not just a Liberian issue, a Togo issue, a white issue. No, it's everybody across the board. And we can address this issue together if we are strong and if we come together as a bloc and as a unit.
So excellent. Thank you so much, the three of you, for those wonderful contribution regarding to COVID-19. And I want to put this again to our viewers, those ones who are tuning in right now. If you have any questions or comment regarding this conversation, please go to YouTube. We are being streamed live on YouTube. Do so if you could. And as you do so, remember to subscribe. Also, we are live on Facebook. If you could go to Facebook and post your question. If you have any question to the leaders here, please do so. And if you have any comments at the end of the show, we'll have them answer some of the questions that you might have. Again, for those ones watching, and I know a lot of people are watching across the country and others from around Africa, I think it's important to engage in this conversation. So let me get back to you, Sylvester. I think what has happened with COVID-19 is that it's transformed the way we do things individually, as families, communities, businesses. Pretty much that what it is. This is a new norm. And I think going forward, even the immigrants across the US and elsewhere around the world have come to realize that we are here to stay. This is home. We're not going anywhere, and we have to therefore build really a foundation for us. And we here at KDRTV are providing this forum where we can engage in this kind of conversation, because we really won't have this on CNN or WCCO. So let me get to you first, Sylvester. Based on what you see within the Togolese community, and of course you're a friend to many African communities here, what three major challenges do you really believe that the African immigrant community in the US is facing, And then shortly after that, we'll talk about how we can deal with those challenges. Sylvester.
Thank you so much for this question. Actually, as our community, it's a little community, and the way we face everything in Minnesota here is a little different the way we face it in Africa. And when the people come over here, the other people, the way we come together is to help the new people who are immigrants to here in Minnesota. And then we find out that we don't insert it correctly to the community, and then we get lost on the way. And that's why our group come together and say, yeah, we need to go talk to everybody, every Togolese, and make sure we are on the good track. So the challenge we are facing is how we can, the first thing is how we can get a job. And especially those people who speak French, like a second language is English for us. And to get it inserted to the community is really difficult for those new people. And we are come together and make sure all new people come in, they are on the good track. And the other thing we are facing is how our senior, they can stay here healthy, get healthy. And the other thing is how they can get insurance when they get older. And we are challenging with all those. And the other thing is our generation, our kids, how they can face it when they are going, they got to go to the college. And because of when we get here, we don't know how to get on the right track, and then we get a lot of debt. And when we get a lot of debt, then our kids, they don't know, or we don't know how to get them through their college. So we come together and we for other community and get, especially from a Kenya community, Liberia community, and then we learn from them because they have like Kamachi said before, they got a lot of things like for the COVID-19, they got a plan put together, but our community, we are a little bit late for all those. That's why we say no. We who are a little young, we need to come together and work with other community and make sure we get everything set for our future generation. So that's the way we are going right now. And for the other thing I can say also for uh, uh, our senior, our grandparents who are here a long time ago. Some of them they want to go back, and but the scare for the health is still in back home. It's not easy to get there, and when you get some you get sick, you can go to the hospital. It's not easy. So at least we need to come together like we are here today, and we need you guys help and other community help, and we can stand up and do what we can do for our kids, especially for our kids. It's very important that when somebody come with some information and they don't really know and they want to share with their community but they don't really know, I think that's something we are working on. And because our grandkids need our help, then they can get to their college. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure whether you can hear us. I think it looks like the screen we are frozen here. Ben, is it okay? Okay, so it looks like I got a note here that we are fine. So for some reason, we seem to be frozen on my end here. But let's continue the conversation. So what I hear from you, Sylvester, you're talking about different challenges from within the Togolese community, but there are also those same challenges within other communities. I think, yeah, there's a technical problem there, but the technical guys are working hard to have that fixed. So no worries. Let's get to you, my brother Kamati. I know, again, like as I said, the Liberian community is one of the most hardworking people that I know in the world. What are some of the three greatest challenges that you think the Liberian community is facing alongside with the immigrants?
So I think there are so many other challenges, but if I could sing that into three words, I would say integration, access, and capacity building. Integration, we have cultural differences when we leave our homeland coming into this environment. How do we integrate into this society? Whether it has to do with the rule of law, uh, financial management, how to cope with the system. That's that's one of the challenges we face as immigrant community. Then access, having access, whether it is assistance, healthcare, education, whatever that is available that we as a community can access to build our human capability and capacity. And the last one is capacity building. So if we can build those capacity, take advantage of the opportunity that is provided in this environment, in this country, this culture, then we can make the most of our community, ourselves, and back home. Now, the fourth challenge is we as an African community, how do we network with one another, compare notes, exchange idea, and be of assistance to one another? Because if we can focus on these challenges, what I have in my community as a challenge might be the same challenge the Kenyan community have, or it might not be. But our ability to come together, identify those challenges, and be able to work together and find solution to have our people properly integrated into this society and give them access to the assistance, the facilities that is available to enrich and enhance and develop their human resources and capability, as well as capacity building. So I think those are the challenges we face as immigrant community, and those challenges is now only limited among the Liberians. Thank you.
Okay. You know, it's interesting as I hear the two of you talk about some of the challenges we face across the board. They seem to be very similar, really, challenges. But I want to go to you, Older. And, you know, as I bring you on, it reminds me, I have a history, I'm an historian by background. It reminds me those old days when I went to history class and I was reminded of the first founders of the African continent, the likes of Kenyatta, right? Mnadi Azikiwe of Nigeria, all those great African, my hero, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. It reminds me of those days when they came to the US and together they formed a students organization. So they saw themselves as one people. They strategized and went back to Africa and fought for independence, which really gave back to who we are today. What beats me most of the time is that we've had the chance to come here on our own right, but we cannot act together. And then I shared this with my Nigerian friends. Was Chinua Achebe wrong when he said, no, the white man did put the sharp knife on the thing that held us together. We fell apart and we can't act as one. So, Ulda, to you, what are some of the challenges you see from the Kenyan perspective that the immigrants are facing here in the United States?
Is a very heavy question in the sense that, you know, as an immigrant bloc, we face very similar challenges. We might have slightly different, you know, ways of going about addressing those challenges, but they're quite similar. So from the Kenyan community, you know, we are seeing a lot of, you know, challenges when it comes to the family unit, right? We're talking about mental health. We're talking about drug abuse. We're talking about family violence, you know, and so a lot of our people, the main challenge is having lack of access to resources that can address those challenges, you know, and I sit here and a lot of times, you know, I love doing research. I love looking at what's out there for people. That's my job as the, leader of the Mwanyege Tinge organization. So, and it just boggles my mind in terms of how much resources that are out there, whether that is NGO affiliated or whether that is government affiliated. And so for the Kenyan community, it's a matter of making sure that our people have access to those resources. And yes, we would love, in a perfect world, we would love resources, for example, the one that addresses mental health, to come from our own community. But because we have very limited resources in terms of that, there's other resources that are out there. For example, there's an organization called Reach for Resources. They provide, tremendous amount of, resources from disabilities, mental health, family issues, you name it. So bringing that and partnering with such organizations to tell our people, hey, if you're dealing with this issue, here is an organization or a resource that you can utilize. That's number one. So number one is access. Number two is our immigrant community, especially the Kenyan immigrant community. We have not done a good job of addressing our children and what they're facing, especially our kids, our immigrant kids in schools, right? We sit here and we send our kids to school and we are hoping that they are getting the best education because we're in America. But at the same time, if you look at statistics, if you place an immigrant child in an all-white institution, they don't have that, cultural support and that support system that they need. What does that do to that child? It hinders their growth. It hinders their growth when it comes to their education and development, really. So we as a Kenyan community really needs to come together and really participate in our kids' education. And that means going into the school board, talking about, hey, my child is coming from this background. What can we do to ensure that they're getting the best education? If that means sitting there and having conversations about changing policies, encouraging our people to go to these different fields, for example, teaching, where we can then say, this is a long-term goal, right? Where we can then say, oh yeah, I'm sending my kid to a school where there's somebody there who actually understands where they're coming from. So that's the second issue. The third challenge for me, I think it's credential recognition for our people. Our people are very educated. A lot of the Kenyan immigrants who come to America, unlike, the Liberian community or the Somali community who came here under, refugee status or whatever other status they came. A lot of Kenyan immigrants came here out of their own, hey, I got a green card, I'm coming to the US. And most of them really are well-educated individuals who had very high positions from Kenya, and now they're coming here and all of their hard work, all of, their education is not being recognized. So really finding a way of having credentials for our well-educated, rehearsed professionals being recognized and integrated into, whatever community they live in, and having them provide and give their skill set to that community in terms of professionalism and in terms of education. So for me, those are the three main challenges that I see our Kenyan community are facing at the moment.
Okay, very good. Nice. Listen to this. Look, as I listen to the three of you, I'm just reminded of a very positive future that we have if and only we work together. I think that's key to underline and appreciate what you guys are doing in your respective communities. So let's talk about this. Yes, we do have those challenges, but at least we have to find a way forward. And way forward is us working together. As we know, there's the African socialism. African socialism demands that we work together as a people, right? I'm going to begin with you this time, Kamati, right? That's the essence of Africa, is that we really work together. I think if you go to South Africa, we have that spirit of Ubuntu, right? We come together, we put resources together. Going forward, how do we use that narrative or that aspect of working together so that we can resolve these challenges and build a future for ourselves here? Kamati.
To piggyback on what you said, Dak, it is in the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community coming together to work for the general good of that community, that village, that town, or that city. You know, the Liberian community is a huge community. They are making some strides right now, but this community been in existence from the state of Minnesota at least since 1973. It started off as a student organization and evolved over the year. And come 2010, we transitioned from a politically charged entity to a service-oriented one. Now, if we try to network, partner, establish a partnership or working relationship amongst ourselves as African immigrants, okay, we will then build a strength. What I need access, what I need the resources, the information, the Kenyan community can be of help to me. And so is the Togolese community and vice versa. So I think, like I said, one of our challenge is how we network and work together. We should use that as our strength because in this society, in this culture that we live in, numbers resonate into strength and power. Number resonates into a voice. Number also resonate into having a seat at the table. So if we can collaborate as African community, put together our resources, harness the human resources and capability and our experiences and how we work together as one community, the results can be very, very alarming in the positive sense because we will progress. So my appeal here to all of us, okay, we have our various strengths and we have our various weaknesses. You can compensate for my weakness and you can benefit from my strength. I can compensate for your strength, okay, and then benefit from the so and vice versa. If we come together as a union, as a community, there are so many things that we can do. Our forefathers back home established the African Union. It was called before the Organization of African Unity. And you were giving homage to past leaders, the likes of Nkrumah, Kenyatta, and so was Dr. William V.S. Tubman. The Seneca Conference over the establishment of the OAU and the ECWA. So I will also pay homage to Dr. Tubman of Liberia, William the Canary Tubman. But again, like I say, it is a good thing for us to harness the human resources that we have, put together our strength, and build the capacity that we can have a seat on the table and determine our destiny as well. That is what our vision. In so doing, we in the Liberian community have vowed and who said that within the next 5 election cycle, we want to make sure that we have 10 elected Liberian officers. We have a mayor, we have 3 councilmen, and we have 2 Liberians that are running for council or membership and school boards. Politics is local. Let us harness our resources and our strength together and make a difference and have a seat on the table. That's what it ought to be. Thank you.
So let's hear from you, Sylvester. You know, we are talking about unit, but one of the problems we have and still continue to have is the fact that we seem to continually identify ourselves based on nationalities. When I proclaim I'm Kenyan, I'm Tanzanian, I'm Ugandan, I'm Nigerian, South African, whatever the nationality. But again, like as we experience across the country, particularly matters of race, is that if somebody sees you around the street, sees you as black, not what your origin is. And also, you're talking about our children. In the future, they may not even care about what were the specific nations that we came from. They really, all they know is that they came from Africa. So, on the same question, Sylvester, how do we really shun our ethnic and national differences so that we can tell a common story?
African culture is something we have a chance to have that culture, because the diversity of our culture, it's like a challenging also for us. But in the last 10 years, 10 years ago, if you ask people like African community people to come together and say something together, it's a little hard because they are from a different culture. But right now, as I'm talking right now, we are going to be units. We are going to be one continent, like one country. Even if it is a continent, we are in one ball. And that's why we are here today. And for this chance we have for our continent, we come together. And if I'm missing something and Kenya have it, and that will be my chance to learn something I did not know. And to challenge or to get over this, I think the only way to do it is to come, and that's why it's going in right now. If you ask all the African and you ask them, what do you think about your continent? They will tell you they are unit. Even my kids, you ask them, do you want to go to Togo? They say, what is Africa? They don't know what is Africa. What is Togo? Sorry. They only know Africa. So if we come together and a unit and learn from each other, that's the only way we can solve all our challenges we are facing here in Minnesota, in United States. So again, we are on the track. Like I said before, we we just start now. Togolese community just start now, and we gotta learn more from you guys, from Kenya, from Liberian, from Nigerian. That's the way we can grow up to. We have a lot behind to do. So thank you so much for bringing us together. And it's not gonna start. It's not gonna stop here. It's going forward, and we're gonna go there and build a good, strong continent, as we call Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvester. Good point there. You know, I appreciate my mombo, if you know what that means. So I appreciate that. So, Ulda, I'm gonna bring you in, and as I bring you in, I'm gonna chip in some statistics here. There's clear data that is showing, especially here in the state of Minnesota, whoever is defined as minority. What the data is showing is that the children who belong to the minorities here in the state of Minnesota are likely to be more, or already are more, and therefore suggesting that over the next decade, we're going to have more minorities get into the workforce than is today. Knowing what we now know, and I think if you watched our discussion last week with Nasib Sarafa last week, it was a paints explaining how much numbers really matter, as Kamat was saying. So going forward, knowing that we have the numbers, knowing that in 10 years' time, we will be the majority, that our children potentially will be the presidents of colleges, will be the CEOs, how do we shun these ethnic and national differences so that we as immigrants tell a story so that somebody else does not have to tell our story?
Absolutely. So talking about numbers, I love facts, and I love, knowing exactly what's the reality of the situation. So if you think about it, 1 in every 5 immigrant here in Minnesota is African, right? And we are, out of the 50 states, we are the largest, we have 9th largest population of African immigrants, and 60% come from East Africa. That's just in Minnesota, right? And 70 African, we have about 70,000, if not more. If you're just talking about, maybe voter those who are eligible to vote. If you include everybody else, if you include, the children of these immigrants, you're looking at 180,000 and even more, actually. I don't have the right number, but you're looking at close to 200,000 immigrants just in Minnesota. That's a big number. And if you look at the businesses, I mean, we have there's about 20K businesses of immigrants here in the Twin Cities alone. And if you look at how much we are contributing to the federal government, to the local government, in 2018, we contributed 2.9 billion in federal taxes and 1.5 billion in state taxes. What does that say? We have the power to actually say something and have those in power listen to us. The only issue with us immigrants and African immigrants is that we are so caught up in our siloed groups. This is the Liberian community, this is the Kenyan community, this is the Togo community. And I finally feel the shift is changing. The shift is changing, that we are starting to realize together we can actually make a sustainable change. We have to shift our mindset from this mentality of hand-downs, meaning that we are getting, a grant from the state here and a grant from a nonprofit there. Why can't we be on that table, sitting there making policies that actually grant us the resources that we need, instead of us going and looking for grants here, grants there? Policies that actually address our challenges head on, instead of now coming from the back end and saying, oh yeah, we have a problem, please give us some money, please throw us whatever is left over. With that said, like everybody has said, we have to start to think differently. We have to start thinking as a holistic immigrant community instead of these siloed groups, right? And that means getting our people to run for offices. We can't change policy unless we are sitting at the table. We can go to town halls all day, every day, but at the end of the day, when that door is closed and when they're making decisions, they're not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, flour is really important to the Kenyan community because they love ugali, right? They're not gonna, sit here and make decisions based on cultural differences and based on cultural traits and cultural benefits. They're not, because they don't know our culture. Unless we are sitting there and we are giving them, hey, that policy that you're putting together is not gonna help our community. It's actually gonna hurt our community. Until we are on that table, we will continue getting hand-downs. So what am I saying? We have to engage our local government. That's where the resources are. Yes, the federal government, we need to participate. But at the end of the day, we need to run for those council seats. We need to run for those commissioner seats. We need to run for those mayor seats. We need to run for those governorship seats, and why can't we? We are educated. We are hardworking. We know what hard work is. And we are the people who are actually dealing with this day-to-day challenges. So why not have one of our own leading us? The Somali community is doing a great job of this. They have a woman congressman, that's awesome. That's great. And they also have 8 other lower seats, candidates, or actually member of those offices already there. So I'm challenging the rest of us to come together and say, hey, we need to take action. And I applaud those people, those members of our different communities who are running for seats. And that's why it's critical November 3rd to encourage our community, I know we're going to talk about this later, to engage in political forums, to be a part of the conversation. So at the end of the day, we're not sitting here getting hand-downs. And with that said, we Africans, we are hardworking people. It doesn't matter where we come from. If we can come together and put that energy into policy-driven agenda together, you can, Yani, I'm speaking like this because I can see the potential of us immigrants here in Minnesota, how far we can go. And not even in Minnesota, we can even go global, United States, and bring the change that we want to see within our communities.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Kamachi,
Yeah,
Ulda
okay.
still talking.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
Uda, go ahead.
so I
I'm
think
enjoying.
yeah, sorry, there's a lapse there. So sorry, Ulda, there was I think a technical problem there. So Ulda, you're talking about that, and we'll get to the politics here in a moment. We also need to tackle. I'm a business professor, and I think we also as an immigrant community need to look at our economic part. Think about all these businesses that we don't own. Where do they sell their products and services? They sell those products and services to us. But look at even the commercial ads. Those commercial ads have no recognition of our cultural backgrounds. And that what it is, still it's an extension of mental colonization that exists within us. And unless we really recognize that fact, then unfortunately our culture will be eroded over time. And that's why really we here at KDRTV are saying, look, we don't have a platform on CNN. WCCO cannot provide a platform. And that's why we said, yeah, look, we need to provide a platform for all African immigrants to come on the show, share experiences, and build a generation for the future. So let me switch to the next and the most interesting topic of the day. This one I cannot afford to do that, but I also want to note to our viewers that if you notice that we have the two of us have red ties, and you see how who there is, it's no political message whatsoever, and that means we now talk about politics, and we start with the most neutral person on the show, our brother Kamachi. Kamachi, it's election time, right? And we have the numbers. We have a massive opportunity here to change the direction of not just the state, but also the direction in which this country goes. And therefore, those ones around the world will watch us and be proud of what we do in the future. In your view, why should folks vote?
Not only is it important to vote, but voting in itself is a power, it's a right, it's a voice given to you. Then, if they ask you, Kamati, do you want to be heard? Do you want to be heard? Do you want to use your right? By withholding that right, that voice, you are not only affecting yourself, but you're affecting others within your community that feel the same pain that you feel. One single vote can make an impact. The elections between President John Fitzgerald Kennedy and Richard Nixon was one of the lowest margin in the history of the United States, as far as I can recall. But that less than 1% of vote shift the destiny of this country up to this day. So that tells you how valuable a vote is. In our local elections, where you have councilmen, votes as little as 4-3 can make a difference who preside over an agenda. All politics is local. Now, before I further on the voting, let me focus on the African Unity Front and come back to it. We as a people, our diversity is embedded in our commonality as Africans. It's irrefutable, it's indisputable. Our diversity is embedded in our commonality as a people. That is our strength. It's what we should all build upon. The Liberian community on an official tally goes for over 45,000 Liberians. Let's assume the Kenyan community have 30,000. Let's assume the Togolese community had 10,000. The Nigerian community have 30,000. If we put the numbers of those very communities together, we will be saying that we have over 500,000 African immigrants in the state of Minnesota. The next question we'll ask ourselves, which area, which congressional district are those Africans concentrated in? And every congressman, knowing that his fit on that chair depends on our vote as a community, it will give him the clue to want to talk to us. We have diversity in culture, but yet we have a commonality. We can build on our commonality and seize our strength and determine to a relative extent our destiny. With that, the challenges we have with integration, access, and capacity building can be easily resolved. Thank you.
Oh, so it looks like there was a technical hiccup on my hand, but that's fine. Kamachi, thank you. Thank you. Let's bring you in, Sylvester. On the same note, what do you think folks should vote?
It's a question, big question. Right now, I'm asking our community, Togolese community, to wake up, to get out and go vote. Because all the decision coming from there. If you want to get your integration to the community, you need to wake up, stand up, and go and vote. If you want to be part of the resource, everything here in Minnesota, you need to get out and vote. Especially, you can vote early, and you don't get a squeeze and I say there is a snow. Please, that's my advice to all our community, Liberia community, Kenya community, Nigeria community, all the African people. I'm calling for you this morning. Get out and go vote because it's your right. That's the way the decision, all the decision coming from. If you don't be part of your decision today, tomorrow you will regret it. You will regret it. We don't want somebody to say, no, I don't need where to send my kid to school, to better college, to better school. No, you got to make a decision right now. That's why it's very important to wake up where we are. Especially, I'm calling for our young daughters. If you are 18 years old, go and vote. That's your right. You have to do it. If you don't do it, you're going to regret it tomorrow. That's why I'm here today and asking everybody, all our community, to stand up because we have to make a decision. We have to come together and make a decision for ourselves. Don't let somebody make a decision for you. If you have a capacity, I know most of people here in America, they have a capacity, they have a good degree, and they can run for all the positions they have here in United States. Don't get afraid. Don't think you don't have everything. Don't position yourself on the back. Please, again, this is the good time for us to make a decision. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the good points. So let's bring in Olga as well. Olga, your thoughts on the same?
Can you hear me, Dr. Okari?
Yes, I can, and I apologize. Really, there's been some technical problems on my end today. Apologies. I'm working from afar. So your thoughts, please.
Yes. So in regards to voting, I can't express how critical, how important this is. If you came to this country as an immigrant and you were able to go through, and get your right to vote, you need to exercise that vote. That means that you need to plan ahead and you need to execute that right to vote. Because at the end of the day, if you look at what's going on in this country, a lot of the policies that have been put in place are really against the immigrant community. And we can't sit here and complain why the situation is bad or what's going on unless we stand up and we speak using our vote. So, our immigrant community, especially our African community, we love to make money. That's okay. We have bills to pay. We have kids to take care of. We have all of these other obligations. But please, let's make sure we make voting a priority. Because at the end of the day, if we do not vote, then we relinquish our right to complain about the situation that we're in. And so I want to encourage all of our people across Minnesota and really in the United States who have that ability to vote. Plan ahead. For example, I voted 2 weeks ago. Here in Minnesota, you can vote early. I voted 2 weeks ago. It was simple. I went to the city hall, I registered, and I casted my vote. And I was shocked I thought the lines were going to be long. I was shocked to find out that there were only a couple of people. So don't wait until November 3rd for you to cast your vote. Because as things are going right now, we don't know what's going to come around the corner on November 2nd, November 3rd. And why wait? What's the reason for waiting? Because when you put that vote in there, you are done. You can sit back and just watch for the results. And then also in the Kenyan community, my goal is to encourage our people by putting things in place. For example, if you don't have a right to go vote, somebody will be available to give you a right to vote. If you don't know what the requirements are, please call us. We will give you the requirements. Pretty soon here in the next week or two, we're going to be distributing all of the different places people can go and vote early, and also as well as register. So having the knowledge of what is required and planning ahead for your vote is critical, especially in this general election. And then also be mindful about who are those in our community who are running for these different seats. Let's support them, because at the end of the day, we have the right to hold them accountable. We elected you to go there and represent us, our culture, our traditions, our people, what's happening. So I want to finish by saying it's a privilege to be able to vote. Those of us who have family members who are not able to vote, they sit here and they're the mercies of the policies that are being put in place. And if we have that right to vote, let's exercise it and let's plan for it.
So, thank you, Ulda. I think for some reason today, and I apologize to our viewers that on my end, really, there's a technical breakdown a lot. So I apologize to the viewers. I'm not, it's just the technical problem on the other hand. So good points there. Again, we're running to the end of the show. Before we finish the show here, I'm going to go around the group and just ask on a light note. Let's start with you, Sylvester. What do you do for fun during these COVID-19 times?
This question. Thank you, and also for having me on KDRTV. Thank you for everything you guys are doing for our community, and to go forward to answer this question. In this time on COVID-19, is a frustration time for everybody, and it's on off for everybody. And how to get the food is not easy. Even if you have money to get the food, it's still not easy because you are afraid to come back home and get sick. And for my side, the way I resolve this is to follow the rule. Is to follow the rule. Don't tell yourself it's not gonna you gotta be okay. No, it's a pandemic. It's very serious. That's why I take it serious. I'm asking now everybody. COVID-19 is still here. Please take care of yourself. I say, when you get out from your bed, think first about your kid, yourself, your brothers, your friends, and say to yourself, am I going to contaminate them, or am I going to get something from them? And that's the way you say, how can I avoid this? By wearing your mask, clean your hand at every minute as soon as possible. And for the food we are bringing to the home is something challenging everybody. COVID-19 is not the only pandemic we have in this world. If we see Africa, it's not only COVID-19. People don't have a food to eat. It's very challenging in Africa. It's very important that we who are here, at least we have something to eat. And then we don't want to wake up tomorrow and we don't have a capacity to breathe because of COVID-19. So that's why we need to take care of ourselves, take care of our brothers, take care of our neighbor. Thank you so much for having me today again. I'm very appreciate this community, this table you have it for our community, for African people to come together and bring together what we can eat, what we can do for our future generation, for our kids. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sylvester, for those insightful thoughts. And on the same note, let's bring in Kamate. As we before we finish, what do you do for fun, and what's your closing statement?
So definitely, as you can see, I have started to enjoy the nice African cuisine, and it is manifested in my physical outlook today. Challenging with lots of work for my community. So, well, somebody got to laugh. So, unlike the executive director and president of Kenya, we the African men, we love good cuisine, and that's how we make our spouses very happy. So, as reflected in the food right now. So, I spend a lot of time. But on on a serious note, um, the voting aspect, you can be in jail and you can still vote. You can have a criminal record and still vote. The Organization of Liberians in Minnesota, we are having our last meeting roach voter registration for absentee ballots and early voting on Monday and Tuesday, we are asking the entire community, any community can come at the Olam office on 700 Avenue, North in Brooklyn Park, to get help with your voter registration, voter education, and voter outreach. The deadline is on the 13th. That will be on Tuesday, so we are open both Monday and Tuesday. We are also open to help people that want to access rental assistance from the county. If you live in Hennepin County, you are also. And I'm also inviting my colleague that we will be doing our monthly food distribution. So we have a pending invitation for the Kenyan community, and we'll extend that as well to my Ntukuli brothers. And as I say, in the spirit of African brotherhood, that does not exclude the executive director for Kenya community. Let us all hold together. Let us build on the tradition of our forebears, and let's show our true strength and worth and make a great difference, because our people look upon us as their servants to lead the way. And I hope we can all hold hands together and let's stress on our unity, because our strength is in our unity. In this culture, in this country, numbers counts. Number counts. We put together our 30,000, 20,000, and 10,000, we can have 500,000. That collectively can give us a seat at the table. And when we have the seat at the table, we have voice. And what leads to the voice and the seat is the common act of exercising your right enshrined in this Constitution, and that's to vote. If you do not vote, you are depriving an African brother, a minority that is being disproportionately affected, whether it's access, whatever it is, that he or she fell short of, you are depriving them, not you alone. So your vote empowers you and empowers a member of your community. So you have a dual responsibility embedded in you alone. Let's vote. It is important. It is very important, and let us hold together. Mon frère, nous sommes aujourd'hui là. Nous sommes tous les Africains. On va, dans toutes les façons, on va, hein. Merci très bien. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde.
Comment ça va, Sylvester?
Ça
Oui,
marche très bien quand même.
Ça me fait plaisir
Ça va
d'écouter un frère. Ça me fait plaisir d'écouter un frère du Liberia qui parle le français. Merci beaucoup. Et puis, je m'en vais, je profite en même temps pour dire un petit mot en français. Et juste pour nous dire que nous sommes tous appelés à aller voter. Et nous sommes tous appelés à faire des décisions. Et cela nous donne l'opportunité de grandir. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Mombo. Merci beaucoup, Mombo. Okay, merci beaucoup, Mombo. So let's get it. Okay, don't worry. Those are my in-laws. Okay, let's go to you, Ulda. Let's bring this home again as we finish here. We're finishing. What do you do for fun, and bring it home as you make your closing statement?
So once again, it's truly a privilege to be at KDRTV. And every time I come on, I'm so humbled at this platform, and for Dr. Okari and Mr. Kibwato for really seeing the gap within our community. And so if you have not subscribed, gone on YouTube, Facebook, and subscribed to their channel, please do so, because there's power in numbers. And with that said, I want to start with the serious note here, and I'll finish with what I do for fun. As all of the leaders who have graciously agreed to come on and talk about, driving a positive narrative here in the diaspora, the one thing that we have talked about is unity. Unity in our community is what will bind us together and what will bring the change that we want to see. And with that unity, we can affect the change through voting. And as you've heard, the Liberian community has a couple of things in place, and we are definitely going to collaborate with them in really working together and getting a lot of our people the resources and the knowledge that they need to vote and to get to the voting polls. Or we can even, if we need to help them with absentee ballots, whatever that is needed to get our people to vote, we will do that as leaders. I can proudly say that these three leaders here, Mr. Sylvester and Mr. Kamati and myself, we are here to serve the community. And what that means that we will go out of our way to make sure that the community has the resources and has the knowledge they need to make informed decisions. We might not tell you who to vote for, but we will provide the resources to make that decision. And so it's really critical for us to exercise our right to vote. And like we all have said, if we can't vote, we can't sit here and complain about the policies that have been passed or the laws and regulations that are being, enacted. And so let's exercise our right to vote in large numbers, because I think we had a leadership meeting the other day, and it was sad to hear that only 48% of our people who are eligible to vote. That is sad. Let's increase that and make it 80, 90, close to 100% of our people. And if there's a challenge that stands in your way, please let us know and we will be more than happy to assist you. Lastly, what do I do for fun? Especially during this COVID-19. I love nature, and fall in Minnesota, there's nothing like it. So I love to get out, walk in the very many parks that this state has. And really, for me, that's where I find time to, unwind and refresh my mind and think about, my strategy for my community and who can I collaborate with to bring the resources that, my community needs. And so really going out and enjoying nature is one of, the fun things that I love to do. And obviously family. I love being around my family, and just having that support system is huge, especially, like my brother Sylvester said, this is hard. It's this COVID-19, not only is it, it has limited our interactions, because humans are, we are meant to live together, not, alone. And so I can say that this COVID-19 has done a number on us in regards to our mental health. So really taking care of ourselves and really, creating a support system around you that allows you to live your best, health-wise is critical. And lastly, once again, Dr. Okari, it's always a pleasure. You are definitely aligned in this community with your team, Mr. Kebuato, for really creating, again, I can't emphasize enough how important this platform is, where we are able to come as immigrants to talk about what we're going through, the solutions we have, and we get to share ideas about how to move our people forward. Because at the end of the day, we are here in America. Like Dr. Okari said earlier, our kids, my kids, as they're growing up here, they're not going to go back to Kenya and say, oh, now I'm going to move back to Kenya and die there. No, they're dying here, and so investing here is critical, and we need to change the mindset of our people. Once again, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and it's always a pleasure to be a part of a platform of strong immigrant community leaders as Mr. Kamati and Mr. Sylvester.
So thank you guys. I think with that marks the end of our conversation today, and I can't thank you enough. I think it's a privilege, quite frankly, having a discussion around such a brilliant minds and great daughter of our land, great sons of our land. I think what you're doing to your respective communities is incredible. On behalf of KDRTV, I want to appreciate you. Please keep doing it, keep fighting. I'm sure a time will come when all of us together will sit on a table of brotherhood and celebrate that sense of, look, we came from Africa, we are here, we conquered. And as we probably bid the bye to the world, our children will stand proud of us. So I think those ones who are watching from all the communities, whether you're watching from across the country, within the Kenyan community, within the Togolese community, my good friends, my Mombos, the Togolese community, the Liberian. I have a lot of Liberian communities, and I love Liberians, right? We appreciate you all the good work you're doing, and I hopefully you guys can come back. I think KDRTV is a friend, it's a platform. Please come back. Let's continue to talk about the issues that affect us. And more importantly, yes, they're negatives, but let's focus on the positive side of it. I think if we focus on a positive mind, I truly believe that we will get to a promised land. And I think that's a promise. So again, one more time, thank you, Sylvester, for coming on. I appreciate your tie. We didn't communicate prior, but that's great. And then Kamachi, the Kenyans understand what that means. We excuse you for today, but a wonderful outfit. And again, Hulda, thank you. You did Kenya proud. I think the three of you carried the flags of your respective nations with a sense of pride, and I'm so honored to be been part of the team. I also have to apologize for the technical hiccups in the course of our conversation, because today I'm not in the studio, I'm working from a distance, and so there was a sound problem. So to you, the three panelists and our viewers, and of course our technical guys behind the scenes, I do sincerely apologize for that. So up next, again, standing by. So we've had a voice from Togo, the voice from Liberia, the voice from Kenya. Last week we heard from Tanzania. The other week we heard from Cameroon. We have heard from Nigeria. So we're going across the continent of Africa to hear their voices. And as we continue this conversation, the realization is that we are one, and indeed we should be one. So up next, we're bringing in Jean Gelgelu. Jean Gelgelu, and I think we'll have him on the screen there. He is a wonderful guy, an extremely brilliant gentleman, originally from Ethiopia. He is the founder and president of the Economic and Development Solutions, or Little Africa, in St. Paul. And I think he's coming on the show shortly to talk to us about what it really means to be here. I think he has a fascinating story coming here in this country from very humble beginnings, and think marching into business and now running a multi-million company and employing a lot of our people. And I think these are the inspirational stories that we want to hear. So in a short while, but before we do so, those who stick with us, we appreciate you sticking on with us, but also recognize that next week, same time at 10 Central Time, we'll be focusing on some of the Africans here in the Twin Cities who have, across the country, who have written nice books. And as I have it on the show, we'll be having Pastor Lee Nyaberi, who has written a fantastic book here. We'll be talking to him next week, Moving Beyond Mediocrity. That's what we're talking about next week for those who stick. And then we'll be joined from Texas, this wonderful lady here, Stella Kinama. She's written a very powerful book. It's a personal story, how she went through a very painful life, very abuse, but still beat the odds and became very successful in what she's doing. So she's written a very powerful book here, The Abused Queen, and she'll be here on the show next week at 11:20. So please, especially for those ones who are families, if you've been abused, this is going to be an absolutely fascinating conversation next week. But in the meantime, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back on with Jean Gelgelu, founder and president of the African Economic Development Solutions, and he's standing by. Yes.
Action. So I come up with a vision of African food mixed with Italians, French, Indians, and all that together become like something that Minnesota will be proud of.
And now, welcome to the show, my very dear good friend for the last 15 years, my brother Jean Gelgelu. Jean, how are you doing?
Very good. How are you, Dr. Okari?
Oh, very good. It's good to see you, by the way. You look fantastic in that suit.
Oh, thank you. You too, man.
You know, what beats me sometimes when I look at you all the time, what worries me, for the time I've seen you, you seem to be growing younger and younger as I grow older and older. What's the difference?
They go by fast.
Okay, so, okay, thank you. As we said before, to our viewers' moments, we are obviously having you on the show, and thank you so much for doing for us, not just for KDRTV, but for especially the immigrant community. So if you don't mind, very quickly, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Oh, my name is Jean Gelgelu, President and CEO of African Economic Development Solutions and Little Africa, or AEDS. It's a nonprofit organization that serves African immigrants in Minnesota. And I came here from Oromo, Ethiopia, about 23 years ago when I didn't have gray hair.
Okay. So
So when I
23 years
came here,
ago, go ahead. Go ahead, Jin.
yeah, when I came here, it's interesting. I came in the fall, September, and I remember September 22nd. And then when we entered to no October, there was a white powder coming from the sky. I didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
As you know, we don't have snow back in Africa.
Go ahead, Jin.
It was interesting to see that how it changed from a different continent and here. It was shocking, not only shocking from the cultural perspective, but it's shocking from the weather. And it's Minnesota. I came directly to Minnesota, and it was a interesting time.
But it's been a very interesting 23 years, and the 15 of which I've got to know you very up and close, and I can't really, uh, I'm not can't shy, but to very proudly call you a good friend. So really good to have you. So let's begin with what we just said from the last segment, talking about what's happening in our families, in our communities, and around the world, obviously about COVID-19. Do you mind sharing with our viewers how you're dealing with this COVID-19, you as a person and you from a professional standpoint?
COVID-19 changed our life. There is a positive side of it, and also there's of course, negative side of it. And we filled with fear of unknown, and hiding in the small box. And instead of coming to your studio, now we are doing virtual. So what that really tell us, um, it taught us different way of doing something. It's innovation, right? And then also give us a time to spend the time with our family as well. More time with family. And indeed did disrupt our livelihood, our businesses, and those who not um, savvy enough for technology, which is most of our business owners, and supporting, providing that technical support to businesses is very, very challenging. Um, but and also we as organization were not ready to be virtual either, and so we had to make a critical decision during the shutdown, and how our staff can work for remote, how we can support our small businesses. It was very, very difficult time, but we were able to adapt to the new norm. Um, so we're not in a crisis mode when in March, April, May, June, including June, was very, very difficult time, and we had to process a lot of grant, a loan for small businesses, and it was just it was difficult.
But I think we bid. I think I remember your story when you came here. You went through a very difficult time, and the kind of jobs you did back then. I think you have the stamina, you have the will to do big things, and I think Little Africa or the African Economic Development Center, really, they should be very proud of having you as their president. But Jane, for the sake of our viewers, we obviously understand what the company is all about. But for the sake of our viewers, some people want to understand. We are talking about little Africa. Really, little Africa? Is Africa that little? African Economic and Development Solutions. What is that about? Do you mind sharing with our viewers what that means?
Thank you, Dr. Okari. African Economic Development Solution is a nonprofit that serves African immigrants in Minnesota. It started in 2008. Um, we started it because there's desperation in African immigrant in Minnesota, and when we started, what we saw and what's in on the ground is very, very difficult. It's different, very different. So and we provided business development training program. We provide lending. We provide financial education, home ownership education, um, and creative placemaking, which is the intersection of art and culture for economic development strategy, which is Little Africa. So through this work over the years, and in 2010, 2011, 2012, there was a disruption of business on Central Corridor on University Avenue. So the business were disrupted, and because of the construction of University Avenue for the train, right? So how can we support small businesses during those difficult times? So there was a concept called World Cultural Heritage District, which was a vision of Dr. Bruce Corey, who is the Associate Vice Chair of Concordia University. And he saw that from state capital to Fairview on University Avenue in St. Paul, there's very diverse communities from all over the world, businesses, right? So how can we use this as asset for economic development strategy? And we, as our organization, African Economic Development Solution, was part of that initiative, and we are a member of that. So the vision came from member of those organization leaders say, "Oh, I can market African immigrant as we envision as a little Africa." It's a marketing strategy, not necessarily we are a big Africa. We are a big, not a little, but it's a marketing strategy to create visibility for African immigrant in Minnesota. And we don't have a critical mass in one place. As the nature of African immigrant, we settled in different parts of Twin City metro-wide. You have St. Paul, you have Minneapolis, and also you have a north suburb. So in St. Paul, we have a small nodal place on Snelling and University Avenue, north side, the African immigrant businesses. So we created Cultural Business District, launched it on 2013 with African immigrant community leaders and the businesses. Our mission was lift as you climb. Don't just climb yourself. Lift as you climb. It's a collective support each other, create a support system to support each other. And that is the beginning of Little Africa.
Okay, that's interesting, and I think, Jean, as you and I have talked about this in our private conversations, part of what we are doing here at KDRTV is to create a platform where people can come on and share their ideas, perspectives, and experiences. And as you say, yes, as you grow, be sure you are lifting one another. And I think, as the previous speakers we are talking about, we have the power of numbers. And Nasib Sarefa was also here last week and was talking about we have the numbers. The only problem is that we don't know how to use the numbers to our advantage. So do you also mind sharing quickly with our viewers, what are some of the programs that you have, especially those ones here in the Twin Cities? What are some of the programs you at African Development, Economic Development Solutions have?
So thank you. African Economic Development Solution, we do business development training program. It's a 12-week of training program that help for an aspiring business or existing business either to launch their business or expand their business model. And it's complemented by our technical assistance, which is cultural specific technical assistant to support those businesses in different areas, including marketing, pro bono attorney, and the licensing, all our businesses in financial business structure, all in every area of the business need. And also we do business lending. It's we are a CDFI. I remember Nasibu also described CDFI is a certified financial institution. We got that certification for Department of Treasury. So we can provide lending for our people. The other program is financial education to help people to support in financial area, and home ownership program, which first time home ownership education, and housing counseling, which is for those who are getting favorable loan or down payment assistance. The bank do require 8-hour certification, so we provide that. So the intent of that home ownership program is so people can buy home that they can afford to live in, and helping them to make education decision. The other program is credit placemaking, which is Little Africa I described earlier.
Thank you, thank you. You know, I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I think, like Nasib also said last week, particularly most of the immigrants who come here, there's a lack of knowledge, really, and because of that lack of knowledge, people end up making fairly uneducated decisions, which really cost them long term. And I think I appreciate you being on, and then later in the show, I hope you will share your contacts with our viewers so that at least if somebody needs help from you, they can come and talk to you and your team. So I know there's an upcoming festival later in the year. Do you mind sharing what that is to our viewers?
Thank you. Little Africa Cultural District. I'm going to go back to the story. Why? As a professor, most of your time is spent in why, right? So why we really started Little Africa. So Little Africa Cultural District was launched in 2013. And at that event, I remember one of the leaders said, one day, he said, one day on this street, on the Snelling Avenue, we're going to have African Day. It was a dream. We came together to launch Little Africa Cultural Business District. So he dreamed, he said, one day we're going to have African Day in this place. In 2014, we launched the first Little Africa Annual Festival. At that event, people came from 15 cities, 32 zip code, just over 200 people show up with 6 artists. In 2019, last year, over 12 people show up. Over 12,000 people show up. Sorry, 12,000 people show up. Not only African immigrant, from different diverse African and non-African communities came to celebrate the beauty, diversity, and our resilience and hardworking of African immigrant, and how we transformed the Twin City here in Twin City Metro. So we celebrate our diversity. So it became, Little Africa became the Minnesota best get together. So it's a festival that using art and culture to celebrate our diversity, our beauty. Last year, we launched the first African parade. The first African parade. We closed Snelling Avenue. We are thankful for the great leaders we have in Twin City. Both are the state and the city who helped us to close Snelling Avenue. When we were told we cannot close, this is just a dream. This cannot happen. But the leaders who make decision, I want to take this opportunity to, on behalf of AEDS and our African immigrant, to thank those who supported to close Snelling Avenue so we can celebrate and march for African immigrant on Snelling Avenue, and so kids from Anoka And Lakeville came to pray. They were so proud about their heritage and then learn their common heritage. Not in everyone who have their own heritage, but collective heritage.
By the way, just if you, I don't want to disclose too much about you. That you just finished your doctoral dissertation, and the dissertation is about culture, intersection of culture and economics. You can talk about that later when you choose. But for our viewers, is that you're looking at, for example, the African origin. You're talking about what's the African culture, and then you have this event once in a year where everybody comes on to showcase our culture, so that we don't feel like our culture is inferior to some other foreign culture. And I think that's fantastic. But I also understand that African Economic Development Solutions, and Dr. Okari did some good research. And do you mind sharing what the findings were for our viewers?
Thank you. It's a reminder of the asset. So African market potential is a collaboration between African Economic Development Solution and Concordia University, and it was funded by McKnight Foundation. Dr. Okari was the research who did this research. We partner with African. It's not like any other research that you see, well, one person or one organization do that research. But what we did was we partnered with African immigrant communities, and we also hired survey staff from the community, and to do that research. It was 2014 when we started that research. It was published on 2015. From that research, to help us data is a critical for to know about the market potential of African immigrant in Minnesota. So there was a number of findings on that research. One was nearly 67% of African immigrants don't have access to loan fund. Nearly 67% of African immigrants don't have access to loan fund for their business. That's a challenge. With that volume of the challenge, wealth building is a dream. Lifting community out of poverty is a dream. How can we as a society, as a community, to make that dream a reality is only by creating a space for people to have access to loan, financing. So that is the biggest finding was our people are not getting access to loan. And the other is interesting. The report revealed that more women in the community own business than men.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Really? Oh, that's
Yes,
interesting. Oh,
it's very, very interesting how it's and also, however, the report they have less financial asset than men. There are more
okay.
women own business than the men, but they have more less financial asset than the men. That's the
Okay.
finding. And the survey also showed that there is asset in the community that's not recognized, which is circle of lending. In different communities have different names. In Ethiopia, it's called Okobi. It's a
Okay.
circle of lending. In the Somali language, they call it Awito. And in
Uh-huh.
different language, there's a different language in name. But a circle of lending, people come together, friend and family come together and lend to each other. It's interest-free loan. So the finding is uh, uh, good size of people use circle of lending for their startup funding for their business.
Wow, that's very interesting, by the way, to note. And I think, you see, again, that's why some of this information need to be shared. I think people will say probably women don't do that, but that finding is extremely important, particularly for our female population, knowing that they own more businesses than men. That's something most people didn't know, but that's good news. And by the way, I'm happy to note. I didn't want to share this on the air, but the fact that you talk about Concordia University, just so you know, I start teaching at Concordia in 2 weeks' time. So I'm a professor now at Concordia. So I'm glad that you're talking very nice of my employer, and Concordia University as well will be on the show in a week or 2 weeks' time to talk about the programs they have over there. So good to hear that. So let's move further and talk about another topic, and I hope you can put this together. I think the other panelists were talking about some of the challenges that the African immigrant communities face, not here in the Twin Cities, but actually I think all across the country. There are challenges, but you and others are trying to provide solutions, and that's why you're saying development solutions. So, in your view and the view of AEDS, what do you see as some of the greatest challenges that the African immigrants are facing, and what are the quick solutions for those challenges?
Thank you. There is a number of challenges that we identified, which is also
Yeah.
supported by the research that we just talked. Financing
Yes.
is a challenge. Either to start your business or buying home, financing is a challenge. Remain challenge across different ethnic group and
Yeah.
different religion also. It became a challenge. Remain. And the second is economic disparity. We talked about financing is a challenge. Economic disparity is another challenge within this economic disparity. Not having finance and also not getting good job. Well, those people who get to educate themselves and not working on their own field of their profession, it's impacting the income of African immigrant in workforce. So we have disparity in economic area, and also home ownership is remain challenging uh, because of what we talked earlier. Finance is the one of the reason why we have home ownership disparity, because one, uh, not having credit or bad credit, or not have phase-based financing. So those who are cannot take interest, they're still limited to not to have home ownership opportunity. The biggest asset over in our lifetime in this country we do is home ownership. At the end of owning, the home is appreciate and have a value in there. So this is creating the wealth gap in African immigrant community, and home ownership is still is remain the challenge, and also actually it's not only a challenge, it's a threat uh,
Yeah.
for family stability and in this region. At least been done research in other U.S. Area states, but I knew in Minnesota this remain a challenge.
Okay. So, Jean, do you mind at this point sharing? I think that's a very important information, and you obviously cannot answer all the questions at this point, but you can share comfortably your contacts or your website for our viewers if they want to check you up and probably stop by for any questions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You can find us at www.aeds, A Apple, E Elephant, David, S Sam dash mn.org. That's our website. You can find us info at aeds-mn.org, or our phone 651-646-9411. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. You can follow us in both in Little Africa and African Economic Development Solutions.
Oh, good, Jane. As well, the viewers can contact me or anybody at KDRTV, and we can connect them to you. So no worries about that one, in case they miss that one out. So, Jane, let's talk about another topic before we head to the conclusion of the show. Again, we talk about African, right? Africa, essentially, we're talking about the representation of anything that is black or that looks and or sounds like you and I. But you know well that within the African community, we are divided into different ethnic groups and nationalities. So, for example, if you take the Kenyans, for example, there are different tribes within the Kenyan community. If you go to the Ethiopian community, there's obviously whether you're Ethiopian, you're Oromian, you're Tigray, there are those differences. You go to the Somali community, still there's deep down those clans. And pretty much every part of Africa, really, there are those subdivisions. And I think that's a major problem. So from your view, how can we really go beyond these ethnic and national differences so that together we can form a good story that will drive us in a positive way, socially, economically, and actually geopolitically?
You know, our diversity is our strengths, our beauty. You know, our diversity is not created by us. I did not create diversity. It's created. I just have to celebrate. Celebrating our diversity and is the beginning of success. It's not a threat. That's what you're right. We have seen, we have challenged within not only with the country, within the same ethnic group. There's diversity. The diversity in age, diversity in all kind, religion, all diversity is a beauty. So, we live in this country, right? We live in this country, building community-based coalition for collective power is a key. Building community-based coalition for collective power. If you don't have collective power, means you don't have voice. If you don't have voice means the disparity that we talked earlier remain our challenge for the years to come. Focus on building asset-based economic development, which is Little Africa, bringing the diversity and resilient and hard work of African immigrants and celebrated our diversity. The first time myself, I was able to experience East and West African music, dances, when we started Little Africa.
That's nice.
And also, we need to have continuous civic engagement. So we can discuss and how we can create a collective voice.
I like how you spin that in a very positive way. Diversity is our beauty. This is just what it is, right? All we need to do is bring it on the table come end of the year during the festivals at Little Africa together, and then we celebrate. And by the way, for the festival, is anybody can come in, can come to the festival, right?
Correct.
So meaning if you're in the Twin Cities, to our viewers, especially those in the Twin Cities, whether you're from South Africa, from Nigeria, from wherever you are from across Africa or anywhere around the world, well, we will love to see you on that festival. Let's enjoy. We can enjoy music, we can enjoy food, we can enjoy clothing, whatever that makes us. I think it beautifies who we are as human beings. So, Jean, let's talk politics. I know you don't like to talk politics, but I'm going to put you on the spot and then we talk politics. I know it's a subject you don't like, but let's talk about it. I think most of the people I've talked to, they're saying these elections in this country this year is probably going to be the most consequential election in the history of our being. You've been here for 23 years. Why do you think this should be really important for our people to go and vote?
You know, we're not talking about politics. We're talking about civic engagement.
Yeah.
We are talking about civic engagement and the privilege we have in this country. Thank you for recognizing. You see, you recognize our diversity, right? I don't
Yes.
like
Yes.
politics.
I know you don't like it. Yes.
But where I came from, Ethiopia, I don't have that privilege. We don't have that privilege to elect a leader that represent us. A lot of people died for this. We have to use this is our privilege to vote based on our value. What really matters to us is not about voting for this side or that side. It's about using your power or vote to make a change you want to see. If after November 3rd, the policy was set, we should not complain at all because we did not participate. We did not do our part. Once we cast our vote, we did our part. If we don't, it's not wise to complain at all because we contributed for the faith, what we do want to see. So it's critical important. The policy agenda that was set is determined by your vote. And the world building disparity we're talking about earlier, while we have disparity and while we have home ownership gap, while we have economic disparity, health disparity, all those kind of is set by policy agendas. So policy agenda, who set that policy agenda is people you vote for. So that is why it's a personal. It's not. It's not about voting for this party or that party. It's about your interest, your self-interest, to make sure that you set the next chapter of our country, and by using the privilege that most people around the world don't have it. We are very privileged, really very privileged, to be the voice of yourself by voting.
I like the way you went around that question. I asked politics, and you talked about civil engagement. By the way, I didn't expect you to answer that, but you did. You did perfectly well going around that. This should, well, glad to call you a friend. Anyway, so there is a question we didn't answer at the beginning of the show, and I would like you to face the camera and answer that question. I said for the last 15 years of the years that I've known you and you are growing younger and younger, and you're looking even better than I saw you 15 years ago. And I'm growing older and older every day. So share with our viewers during this COVID-19, what's the secret? What's keeping you so young and going like this?
You're right. 50 years ago when we met, uh, we both are look like the same, right?
No, I'm great now. I'm great here now. Okay.
So COVID is, the it give us different life. Life before COVID and life after COVID. Not after, hopefully after COVID.
Hopefully,
Hopefully
yeah.
after COVID. During COVID, it's different, very different. Um, what kept me, enjoy really what I do.
Yeah.
I really enjoy what I read. I get to interact with people very, very diverse, but the challenge is the same.
Yeah.
We have people from West Africa and East Africa, but our heritage, we brought a diverse perspective. Challenge in this country, our challenge is the same. When my son and your son walk on the street, what they called?
Black.
Good. So, so our focusing on what is the building the community, the future community. The future community are kids. The future community are kids. So that is why I am getting younger, because I get to work with people who have aspiration and
Yes.
celebrating their diversity and their
Yes.
resilience. And we just celebrate, came together and celebrate and dance and eat our diverse food and sit down together and get to know each other as community. And also, what can we do together as well? Not only sit down and celebrate, what can we do together collectively? So, one thing that, this year we are doing also, the African Leadership Conference. So on December 10 and 11, we have a National African Leadership Conference to bring together diverse African immigrant leaders and to make sure that everyone have the opportunity to network, build their leadership capacity. And we have a fantastic speakers. And the registration will start tomorrow, Monday, October 12th. And we encourage you to register for early bird.
Simply said, Afro Deli.
Afro Deli. Being a chef here, what is better?
Sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Ben play that for you. So again, thank you, Jean. If you don't mind, then give you an opportunity now to make your closing statement. Say anything you want to say to our viewers as we finish.
Hey guys, welcome to our last day of the Little Africa event this year. We're really excited that we've brought you so many performances. We are kind of sad because we're at a park and you're not here. But it's COVID season and we're trying to stay safe, so everybody has to comply, right?
ባህር እስኪገባ አድጎ እያሳደገ አመንጩ ፈለገ ከጸጋው መጠቀም ጎረቤት ሳይጎዳ በጋራ ለማለም አባይም ማስካካ ለለውጥ ተዘጋጀ እስኪገደብ ድረስ ቀን መቁጠር ጀመረ።
Africa is a vast continent with thousands of different cuisine, and Minnesota was missing that action. So I come up with a vision of African food mixed with Italians, French, Indians, and all that together become like something that Minnesota will be proud of.
Simply said, Afro Deli.
Afro Deli. Being a chef here, what is better way to introduce African culture than with the taste, with the smell, with emphasizing the richness?
Meaning that every sambusa you buy or every chapati wrap that you buy helps a small immigrant-owned business in our community thrive.
They don't use preservatives. They don't use special sauces. They use their own natural seasoning to preserve food and to make it taste great. And it's something that
hey, I'm gonna make some new friends. I'm gonna introduce myself or introduce Africa to a new customer and say, hey, this is the taste of Africa, and let's talk about that.
The atmosphere is wonderful. You can sit outside. The clientele are incredible. There's a whole array of foods. You can get gyros, and you can also get
Yes. My name is Truba Daso. My business name, Sunshine Hair Braiding Salon. We do hair straightening, braiding, natural braid, box braid, dreadlock, sewing, hair coloring. We do everything.
Oh, Jin. Oh, that is quite impressive. That's quite impressive, and I think we have Jin. Jin must be frozen there, but I think that's excellent work from the Little African Economic and Development Solutions at St. Paul, Minnesota. I think they're doing fantastic work, and I think for viewers as we bring in Jin, I think it would be nice for you to mark that day so that we all go there and celebrate our diversity. And I'm looking at that dance. I'm thinking of this song coming off South Africa, Jerusalem. I've seen everybody doing the Jerusalem dance and a challenge. I think it would be a good time for all of us. I haven't seen much of that here in the diaspora. If we could do that at the same time, put that on YouTube so that we can tell the world who we are. I think that's great from South Africa and also great from the Little African Economic Development Solution. Jin, do we still have you? Jin is frozen on my screen here. Ben, do we have you, Jin? So for some reason, I have a technical problem that I can't hear you, Jin, if you're still there. Jin, are you there? Ben, do we have Jin on? Okay. So it looks like he did log off, so that's fine. I think that should be good. We can bring him on later to make that closing statement. If you go just shortly here. Okay, so sorry, we don't have the Jean back on, but again, for our viewers, thank you so much for watching. I think that's been a fascinating conversation with Jean Gelgelu of Little Africa, or African Economic and Development Solutions at St. Paul. And I think it's been an honor and privilege, obviously, talking to him, giving us a perspective of what they're doing and why it's important for us to use our culture for social and economic development. And also want to thank our viewers who have been watching. And especially I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Jacqueline Nyaberi. I see you watching from Jomo Kenyatta University in Kenya. Thank you. I think you've been following us for a long time, so I'll give you a big shout out for doing that. Again, for our viewers, next week we have a lineup for next week at 10 Central Time here in Minnesota, or in America. We'll be having a conversation with Pastor Liki Nyaberi. This is his second book. He's written a very nice book here. I have it on right with me here, Mediocrity. More Beyond Mediocrity. We'll be talking to Pastor Nyaberi next week at 10:20 Central Time. And I think that's important to talk about this. Sometimes we engage in small talk, and I think he's telling us, hey, look, guys, we need to move beyond mediocrity and talk about big things, and big issues. I think that's who we are, and we can be, really. So we'll be talking to him next week at 10:20 Central Standard Time. Following Pastor Nyaliki at 11:20, we're going to have another interesting conversation. This is massively interesting conversation with Stella Kinama, our sister down in Texas. She's giving a personal journey about how she went through a very painful experience from Africa and almost experienced a near-death experience. So she's put that in writing in a book. A very, very, very fascinating book. I've gone through that book almost 3 times reading the book. It's here right with me. The Abused Queen. So she'll be sharing her experience as a woman, what she went through, including domestic violence that almost ended her life. So we'll be talking to her at 11:20 Central Time next week. So please do join us then so that we can talk about the same conversation. So again, for viewers, if you think you have anything you want to share, KDRTV is here for you so that we can continue to engage in a positive diaspora narrative. Of course, we understand there are so many challenges within the African immigrant community, just is in other communities around the world. But I think here at KDRTV, we are saying, no, yeah, that's okay, but we also have to have a positive mind, because if we have a positive mind, positive thinking will lead us to better results. So that's really the mantra for our being. Don't forget also to join us here next week on Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time, when we talk about addiction, gambling addiction, with Dr. Richard Ani and also Billy Benjako. Those wonderful people from the Department of Human Services here in the state of Minnesota, who are really trying to reach out to the immigrant community, trying to tell us some of the addictions that we have within the communities that are driving our dreams down south. So again, for all our viewers, one more time, again, thank you so much for being with us on Sunday. But also want to thank community leaders, Hulda Mumanyi for Kenya, again, Sylvester for Togo, and obviously our brother Kamathi from Liberia for making a very good case for community leadership and partnership. So from us here, again, is Dr. Jeremiah Okari. Thank you so much. We'll see you again here next week at 10:20 Central Time.